Hey, welcome everybody. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:01. Close to listening. Everyone get a chance to look at the agenda. Anybody have any additions or concerns or questions regarding it? It's good. We are going to have our presentation from our auditors first today. And there are going to be some things under new business and unfinished business. Get them in as we go along rather than subject the auditors to our housekeeping. Okay.
You're fine. Thank you. Thanks for having us, guys. My name is Robert Camillia. This is Nicholas Camillia. So we're going to give a brief presentation today on the financial statements as well as the audit communications. You have both reports in front of you today. One little minor change that we'll make tomorrow. We'll just go back and revise that. I think we referred to county instead of city, so we'll make that change and should be good going forward. So no issues there. What I'd like to start with is the auditor communication. I always say this is the most important information.
Joe, do you have like a
Clicker.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say everything's
Remote.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just gonna stand here and make sure it works, and then I'll sit down.
I'm supposed to aim it somewhere.
All right.
So basically, I always say the most important thing for the board is to understand auditor communications. So I'll summarize all this information. I'm wordy up there. Summarize most of the information very fairly quickly for you. It's your responsibility as the board to understand the financial reporting process. What happens in an audit, what goes on in an audit, you should understand what those requirements are. It's our responsibility to make sure all the standards are in accordance with what we call generally accepted auditing standards. In doing that, we've looked at the financial statements. We think the best approach for reporting this type of organization is on the modified cash basis accounting, because you have to file what we refer to as an annual update document each year with OSC. So we go ahead and make sure we meet the requirements to put everything in regards to the annual update document. That's the best financial reporting method to use. Our audit is to ensure that the financial statements are reasonably correct. We have a materiality out there, so it's to understand the financial statements. In doing so, we gain understanding of the internal control. So if there's weaknesses in the internal control, we'll let you know if there's any. We refer to as significant deficiencies and material weaknesses. We did not have any of that in the current year. We did review your internal controls and feel that everything is compliant in regards to 12/31, 2023. Once again, communication is significant matters. If we had some oversight or material weakness or significant deficiency, and to give you an idea what a significant deficiency is, sounds like such a horrible term. It's basically anything that merits the board's attention. So if we came across an error, we have to say, is it a material magnitude? And if it was a material magnitude, we will present that to you as a finding. During our audit process, we have to identify and discuss within the audit itself significant risk areas. What changed last year is we now have a financial reporting process to report to you. We have to indicate to you what we think those significant risk areas are. I mean, within these financial statements, the general risk is really related to, you have some restrictions related to donations. So we want to make sure that all those restrictions are met prior to releasing those restrictions from the donors or the individuals that give to you. In the past, we've had to make some adjustments to property, plant, and equipment and assist with the depreciation and things of that nature. So we identified there may be some changes there that we need to do. Those are things that we identified at the preliminary stages. I'm happy to say there were no issues. So with that said, everything was a clean process. Jill and everybody else did a great job of making sure everything was compliant in regards to the current year. Plan, scope, timing of audit. and other. Basically, we do a documentation as I indicated before of internal control and the processes. If we come across something, we would recommend that to you, which we don't have anything. We also look at significant transaction testing and on the balance sheet side, as well as do analytical review procedures on the income statement to see why there's certain increases and decreases from one year to the next. We started our audit in February, and I'm happy to say here we are at February 27th, giving you a conclusion. Better than 3 years ago, I think, when you said it was September, October, we were out here. So things have come a long way. I mean, last year was March, this year's February. So, I mean, that's all a direct correlation to Jill over there for doing a good job within the office. So we did mostly, I just want to say there's an independent review that's done on the financials. I'm the partner in charge. Nicholas is the one that does the audit. He comes on site and does the audit. I review everything, then we have another partner that does a technical standard review to make sure we have all the standards. And once again, there were no issues to report related to the audit. Next, I'll just talk about that's the preliminary stages of the audit. Next, I'll talk about there's a conclusion stage, and Nick, you probably just have to click one more. But that's okay, I'll continue on. It's not changing on the screen. Sorry, yeah. So typically, there's an audit of communication that there's a preliminary and then there's final. So the last letter I talked about is what we send out to you at the beginning stages. This is what we talked about in the end stages. And basically, we talked about the accounting practices itself. And were there any new policies in the current year? There were no significant accounting policies in the standards this year that needed to be implemented by your organization. The only new standard that really came out related to accounting related to what we call CECL, current expectancy and credit losses, which had no impact on your organization. So there's nothing to report in regards to that. All transactions, we do cutoff testing to make sure everything's properly reported in the current period. So once again, everything is properly reported within the balance sheet and the income statement. Accounting estimates, they are disclosed and are reasonable to the financial statements. I'm happy to say that there are no significant changes to those estimates in the current year. Your significant estimate is the estimate of depreciation. We did review the schedules that were prepared by Jill, and we did not have any adjustments to those schedules in the current year. Disclosures, we feel they're neutral, consistent, and clear. I mean, at least we're accountants, so we can say that. But hopefully for the most readers, there's nothing out there that's sensitive. So you don't have any covenants or things of that nature that are sensitive information that we would have to discuss with you today. Difficulties, we did not have any difficulties in performing the audit. And I always say this is the most important thing, is the corrected and uncorrected statements. You every month meet as a board. You get preliminary statements that are put in front of you that you make decisions on, whether you're going to purchase something, buy something, and make general decisions. We have no significant adjustments. I don't think we had any adjustments on the information that was presented to you guys. So kudos to management and making sure that your financial information at interim is very good. And I would probably say 1% of our audits have no adjustments. So good job to you guys, you as an organization. Disagreements with management. We did not have any disagreements. Otherwise, I'd probably be talking to you beforehand. Representation letter. We asked Jill to basically review the financial information and basically assess to us that there were no issues that she didn't let us know about in regards to formulating our opinion. She signed that February 21st, which is the date you'll find within these financial statements. Other audit findings or issues, there were none. I'm happy to say that we are completely independent of your organization, and we're able to express an opinion. That's very important in regards to government auditing standards. And we clarify we're not in your day-to-day record keeping. Management asks us to do certain things or help with certain transactions. We don't process anything into your accounting system. Any questions on that? I'm gonna let Nick kind of go over the financial statements, and I'm gonna go work the computer. Get back. Come back up.
All right, if you guys want to follow along, you'll be on pages
4, 5, and 6 really are the financial statements to start. We're gonna start with the financial, we're gonna call it the balance sheet. It is basically shows your current assets, your liabilities, and your net assets. Your current assets only consist of cash. As you can see in the current year, you had I wouldn't say a slight increase, but an increase in cash of roughly $162,000, from $1,355,614 to $1,517,687. Moving on to the property, plant, and equipment. You also, well, we can take a look at the net property, plant, and equipment. You had a slight decrease in the current year, which is due to the fact that you had disposals and your additions weren't as greater, as great. Your additions did not exceed your disposals. The main thing too to add with your additions, you did put in new projects such as the backflow preventer. You also purchased new computers, and you had new furniture put into the management wing. And that was the main increase in your fixed assets. Your disposals, however, you did get rid of also projector, furniture, so on and so forth. Moving on to the next slide.
See where we're at, submission. There we go.
We'll start with your current liabilities. You are on a modified cash basis, so the only thing that we record are accrued expenses, and which really consists of your credit card statement at year end, and then any other expenses that you received in January that related to 12/31/2023. As you can see, there was a major increase in your liabilities in the current year. And the reasoning to that is because you guys started purchasing more furniture and stuff related to the new construction that is going to be going on. A lot of that is the reasoning to the increase in the liabilities. So you will see, moving down to the net assets, you also had an increase related to that, which is related to the net profit, which we will talk about moving on in the next slide. But overall, you can see that your assets were a total of $3,735,126, which ties to your liabilities and assets of $3,735,126.
And you can just notice here, net assets are broken down into two categories. One is without donor restrictions, and one is with donor restrictions. With donor restrictions basically means those are donations that you receive that are restricted for specific purposes. So you had 24,000 last year, it decreased down to 14,000 in the current year. So it means that you met those restrictions. So it just decreases. So from one year to the next, you will see on the next slide some of the information that there are additions, but overall, if you meet the restrictions, it just gets reduced in the current year.
Yeah, go back to this one.
And you can see next on the total support and revenue, you have about 2.1 million compared to 2,266,000. And most of that increase relates to the tax revenue, which you can see here, there's an increase. We'll talk about that as we go forward. Most of that increase related to the levy. You had an increase to the levy, and that's what's generating most of the increases from one year to the next. You can see here, you have the column, their format of how we do the with donor and the without donor. And you can see we did have additions, so there were grants of 19,000 that were restricted, but we actually released 29,000 in the current year. So that change is what the change is on the net asset with restrictions on the other page that we mentioned beforehand. You can see here you have total expenses. Total expenses are $2,200,000 compared to $2,041,000. And broken down between library management and fundraising. We'll talk about that as we go forward. You can see there's a slight increase. I'm gonna let Nick talk about in a few minutes what those slight increases are from one year to the next. But overall, you can see you had a profit in the current year, which is good. You had a profit of about $64,000. We add that to the beginning of the year in net assets of 3.6 million. And as Nick indicated, that's why your net assets continue to grow. And net assets by definition is the culmination of profit and loss from the beginning of time of when the organization had opened. Nick, why don't you just explain some of the increases and decreases here in the functional expenses?
Yeah, so as you see, most of your expenses remain somewhat similar. However, the major ones that stick out, salaries and related fringe benefits, that did increase in the current year. We go through and we look at the 941 reconciliations that Jill and her staff perform, the payroll register, we tie all that out, everything tied. So that was just one reason that your expenses increased. Another main thing, you'll see that your technology and communications increased. And the majority of the portion of that is because you hired a new IT company, Tag Solutions, in the current year for I think roughly around $37,000, which caused an increase in that category. And then you'll see also we added a new account in the current year called capital expenditures. Now that relates to all the ongoing construction or furniture that you guys are purchasing that doesn't qualify to your capitalization policy of $5,000. So anything over $5,000, you guys capitalize. However, anything that I talked with Jill, anything that would fall into that category being purchased in regards to like the furniture and everything going on, we created that new account to keep everything separated forward so you guys know what relates to all those expenses. And you will also see that your professional services increased as well. And that's mainly due to the fact that you hired Hinman Hayes Architect to do the building survey and main, thank you. To do the strategic planning in relation to those projects. But other than that, the only other increase would be the depreciation, and that's just due to the additions that you guys had in the current year. So overall, you'll see that your total expenses were $2,202,066 compared to $2,041,969. Moving on.
Revenue growth, you can see here, once again, we talked about, I just put a couple slides together for you. Overall, you had a 5% increase in the current year. Most of that was driven by the tax levy. You had a 4% increase in the prior year. I think there was a grant that was received in that year, and that's what it caused that increase from one year to the next. But this kind of gives you an idea of, because it's harder and harder with organizations to keep their revenue flow going from one year, especially not-for-profits we're seeing. So this slide shows you're going in the right direction in regards to increasing that from one year to the next. An important slide to show you guys is program expenditure to total expenditure. And you want to actually, most not-for-profits, usually you see around 88% of every dollar or 88 cents of every dollar is spent related to the mission of the organization. You guys are about 91 cents or 91% compared to 90% in the prior year. So you're doing a good job of making sure that all or most of the money that you're receiving is going back to the mission of this organization. The flip side of that is the administrative expenses. You run a good shop here, and that 8% of your cost is administration. And you want to say, I want to say 6-7 years ago, state controller came out and had a mandate to see that they wanted to see organizations within 15%. So you've done a good job of managing that admin to keep it below that level. But that was one of the percentages that came out that they were striving to have organizations keep, to be below those limits from 1 year to the next.
I'm sorry, what percentage did you say?
15%. 15, started at 20%, and then they wanted to see it go down to 15%. And they really haven't given a bunch of benchmarks since then, as most organizations are trying to comply with that moving forward. They just don't want to see not-for-profits spending their money on the admin side versus the programmatic mission of the organization. Notes to the financial statements, I'll just refer to page 1 through 3. It's an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, which is the best opinion you can receive. There's no qualifications to report to you. All the notes have not changed from 1 year to the next. I'll make reference to the liquidity note on pages 10 and 11 that you can see you're about 1.5 million if you were looking at the financial statements as your total financial assets at the end of the year. And what does that mean to you? It kind of means like how liquid you are. Most of what you have is cash. And that's, so you're liquid. If you look at your expenses that Nicholas was talking about, you're about 2.2 million. You almost have a whole year's worth of cash set aside if something happened in regards to operations that you could still continue forward. So I would say for your organization, you're very liquid from that perspective. No changes to any of the pension plan notes and things of that nature. We make reference that you're part of the local retirement system, and we've referred to the notes within there. No commitments and contingencies to report. You do have concentrations of where you're receiving your tax levy, but you don't see that changing in the near future. So it's just more a note disclosure, but I'd be happy to talk on anything in regards to notes to the financial statements if you want. But for the most part, I'll just conclude in saying this, that overall, you had a profit in the current year, unmodified opinion, and you had no internal control deficiencies. So overall, I would consider it a very positive audit. And, like I say, I can't say enough to Jill. I mean, she does a good job there within her department because, she should be commended for that because it's not easy from year to year, especially in regards to making sure that there's no issues from a deficiency and journal entries. I mean, so I think, definitely great job and a positive report. It's easy to give you a positive report, but overall, that's what our conclusion is related to the audit.
Good job, Jill. Thank you.
Any other questions that you have for us or?
So you've set the stage every February.
Yeah, we can make that happen. As long as Jill says she's ready by February, we can make it happen. So that won't be an issue whatsoever. All right. Well, thank you for your time. And like I said, if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. We'll see you soon. I definitely will.
Okay, so we'll go on the agenda. Next thing we have is public comment. Yes, there is no public per se here for comment. I guess we won't have. Liz, that's Liz.
Oh, I didn't know, I never met her, so I don't know who she was.
Sorry. Yeah,
You've been in there.
Oh, jeez.
Thank you.
So we'll move into approval of minutes from our last meeting, Amanda.
Well, I think they're fairly straightforward. We, I don't know, I really don't have anything else to say.
Everybody received them, reviewed them, had no
questions, comments, concerns.
and thank you for doing that.
Yes, no worries.
We're glad to have Kenny back. All right, so do we want to entertain a motion? Second, Charlie. Any further discussion? Okay, I guess we'll vote. Everybody, okay? Okay. So that's unanimous. So motion to approve the minutes. Next up is Katie, our treasurer.
Okay, so everyone saw the report, but overall, we're in good standing. Most of the expenses were things that we're used to seeing. There was an extra for Brian's increment plan for the audit. The NILA membership, I had asked Jill, why are we, it feels like so far in advance to be paying something through May 25, but that was due March 1st, so that's why that was included. And then the technology we're used to seeing. As far as the off warrant expenses, 1 desktop computer, 3 laptops, and then some more furniture and supplies from Demco. Paying for the employee assistance program, another yearly fee there. And then everything else is pretty standard. I did include at the bottom before we put through the motions, the dates for the budget committee. So it was decided that everyone who did say they wanted to and could participate was available at 3, so we're gonna do them at 3 p.m. on those 3 dates. And that's pretty much it, unless anyone has questions or
I have a dumb
comments.
question, on the off warrant, it says, there's a couple lines for the receiver of taxes in County East Greenbush. What are those for? I thought they paid us the checks that was like, what is that for?
In the
off warrant,
in
on
the
the last
off warrant,
page, for off
okay.
warrant.
sewer.
Okay, I just literally did not know what that, because it says receiver of taxes, and I was like, well, we don't pay taxes. We take taxes. So it's more of just curiosity.
Goes to those, yeah.
All right, fair enough. That's all I had.
I just want to make a comment too, we'll officially name the committee, the budget committee in March. So kind of done
In the formal polling of everybody who wants it, you can always change your mind.
Yeah.
Later if you don't want to, but we're trying to schedule these rooms. I'm sure we have the space.
It's very exciting.
So there's any further questions for Katie? Okay, motions?
Yeah, we've got a motion to accept the off warrant in the amount of $186,802.03 for the period of January 11th, 2024 to February 20th, 2024 as presented.
Further discussion? Take a vote. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Yes.
Authorize the signing of the warrant dated February 20th, 2024 in the amount of $34,156.54.
Do you want a second?
Oh, sure. I thought it was first.
All right, either one. All right. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Is everyone, no one's opposed, so motion passes.
And then finally, a motion to approve the financials with 14% of the year.
Okay, Katie's made the motion, who wants to second? Amanda? Okay, any further discussion? Favor? Everybody, okay, unanimous, motion passes.
All right, so our administrative committee meeting, we accomplished a lot. We had a lot of good conversations surrounding the topics that are listed here. I guess I would just start by asking, does anyone have any questions about anything that was listed in the report?
Do we have to find for your report yet, or?
Yes, we saw it in the service committee. So Jill did give us a comprehensive report, but I basically summarized her bullet points. And those main topics were that we saw an increase in membership and circulation. There was improved access for community members. It had a positive impact on customer relations minimal impact on material return rates, which I think was a concern. And then the financial impact was about 11,000, but I thought that Jill articulated this really well, that because they were not spending their time going through and worrying about the fines, they were able to use that time and maximize productivity in other areas. So even though it was technically a loss of $11,000, if you wanna look at it from a productivity standpoint, it actually wasn't really a loss. So they were doing what they felt like were more meaningful and what Jill evaluated as more meaningful services. And did we pass this in committee, the motion to remove the $1 per page
We
fee
made
for
it as a
faxes?
motion, so the committee is making the motion.
So we are going to vote on that
We have
motion?
to,
Okay, so should we do that
Second.
now, or do we wanna
Somebody's
get
got to
through
second
the rest of this report before we vote for that motion? Okay.
Also,
Um,
can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
For board members, the fine-free report is in the admin channel.
Okay.
So you all have access to both committees, so you can go in and see.
There was a lot of talk about where we're going in terms of construction capital project. And one of the things that we plan to do at our next meeting is to follow up, because there was supposed to be a meeting with Jay. So one of our goals for the next meeting was to follow up about that and continue to discuss that further. And then talking about how we're moving forward with the money that we already know that we're allotted, but it's not sufficient to cover in entirety what we want to do moving forward. So how are we either using that money, supplementing that money, and that's gonna be a part of the budget conversation. So will we apply for this additional construction grant? And if we do, then there's certain things that need to happen. But what are we doing with the money that we already have? Are we gonna use that, or are we gonna supplement it? So that's up and coming for our next meeting.
can we, I think we probably should just wait for Jill's report, because she had sort of updated
Oh, okay, gotcha.
just one step further.
Okay.
Then I think if we do it then, it'll be clear.
Okay, and then I did list what's up and coming for the admin committee, but I just wanted to amend something that was stated. So it says March meeting will be extended in order to discuss finances, but it's not actually to discuss finances, rather it's to have trustees in financial to train trustees in financial terms and documents used by and for the library. So it's not actually a discussion of finances or budgetary items, but more so just definitions, terminology.
What is the balance sheet?
Right.
Oh, this is the training.
This is the
Yes, so
financial
that's
training that
coming
we
in
talked about.
March.
Yes.
Between the two meetings.
Committee meetings are gonna be, each of the committee meetings will be a half hour longer, but they'll overlap.
So the
One
time
early,
is
one
that we, admin shows up at 6:30.
later. Yes. I wanted to just, we had also talked about this, how the building repair was going to be presented. The progress report would be presented to us as a board, and I think we talked about and agreed that it'll come through admin as opposed to, at this point, we're not like going to create an ad hoc finance or facilities committee or anything like that. Basically, we.
But it sort of has happened.
Yeah, it kind of.
Wait, and that's in Jill's report.
Yeah, but once things get moving, it's likely that we will have one. But I know Jill was also talking about getting somebody to manage the project.
Well, that's in Jill's report as well.
Yes.
So just, can I quickly clarify that meeting next month, the committee meetings,
Mhm.
it's on the agenda, I
The services committee is meeting from 5:30 to 6:30, but at 6:30, from 6:30 to 7 will be that financial training. So the admin committee comes in at 6:30 for that training, but the admin committee meeting will start at 7.
We'll be staying until 7.
And services will be staying until 7.
So there's a 6:30 to 7:30 training.
6:30 to 7.
If there are no other questions, admin committee would make a motion to remove the $1 per page fee for taxes, effective as of March 1st.
Okay.
Just making a motion, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I thought you had a question, I did too, and so I kind of.
So I'm seconding.
So the
committee
committee
sent
sent
that
that
motion.
motion.
So then,
Yes, Cammy
so somebody
seconded.
just has to
Right.
Second.
So Cammy second.
Cammy
So,
second.
yeah.
So that's why it's phrased that way on the.
Right.
thing. Just as an FYI for you.
No, it's good.
Just as a reminder too, I think everybody was here, but we had a patron last year who asked about this, and it's not a lot of that comes out of the fax fees anyway, and
Former board.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, it's not something I knew we charged for, otherwise I would have been like,
Right.
hey, why did we charge for this?
Right. Hopefully.
The other thing I wanted to be clear is that at the last meeting, we approved Jay's contract subject to review and approval by admin. Admin did that.
Yes.
That's in the report, yeah.
Yes.
So just to clarify, before you take the vote, in 2023, we brought in $407 in fax fees. So it's really not a huge.
I think we can let that go.
All right, so we have the motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor of removing the tax fee? Anyone opposed? Michael, you had your hand up.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that looks like everybody's in
Is that
favor?
something the library is gonna publicize or?
Yeah, and actually, we've talked about it internally a little bit and not sure that we actually need to publicize this because people come in for the service and then they ask, how much is it? So I think just telling them it's nothing will be okay. Let's see how it goes because we could become we want people who need it.
Yeah.
The people who are,
Right.
applying for the childcare subsidies and the people who really need it for government, for whatever purpose. We're not gonna differentiate to be able to have access, but we don't want to be the place that everybody goes instead of Staples.
Business.
Right.
Business support system.
I will say I come here to print stuff instead of going to Staples now that I know how to do it, so. You guys got that on Staples, but I'm not saying we should turn down the copier fees, those are perfectly fine.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we come full circle. Everyone was okay with approve the motion, so you have that?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Next, the services committee.
Okay, I'm in. All right, so, back to my services committee notes here. Let's go back up to the agenda, so. Okay, so we did do a little update on the little free libraries. So the problem with the little free library is that it is on our insurance. And if we're no longer gonna run the little free libraries, which we're trying to back away from, not back away from, but like we want to turn over ownership to someone else. We need to get off our insurance. So we need to find somebody who has their own insurance, and we discussed this. Nicole had some good suggestions and Mary has some great suggestions. We both had good suggestions. And so we are gonna try to deaccession them. It sounds like we may have found a taker today, actually, like hours before the meeting, the Kiwanis Club said they were very interested in taking them over and they have insurance and all that stuff. So last second update on the update that I made. So,
Good.
which is great, cause they're gonna do a great job with that and they're like.
Where would they be located? Do we
Did
know
they-
yet?
Up to them.
Oh.
We're gonna let them
Yeah.
decide if they wanna keep them there or if they wanna put them elsewhere. But the idea is to transition to them and they seemed very excited about the prospects, so.
If they decide to keep it on the rail trail, we can work with them to transition. We have to work through the rail trail in the town to do that, we can work with
And
them.
it's, we've already done the work to have them be registered as Little
Yes.
Free Libraries, so
But-
they will remain Little Free
Yes.
Libraries.
And you can even transfer on the website ownership to somebody else. Like if you have your house and you bought a house and you set up a Little Free Library and you sell your house, you can transfer that to the new owners through the website. Like, so if Kiwanis wants to keep them where they are, well, one of them where they are, the other one's down. All we have to do is just go and log into the website and change the owner. So it's very easy. They try to make it as easy and painless as possible, it seems like, so.
And just to clarify, would that be the library doing that?
Yes,
Because you guys.
we have ownership now, so we would have to initiate that.
So they're not gonna come down, they're just gonna find a new happy home that is not maintained by library staff or on our insurance.
Are friends still involved in supplying books?
Not officially. I mean, the Friends have not, the Friends are not
Would we
taking this
have
on
to
at
use-
all.
Books from here?
Originally, we did that, and then it just kind of took on a life of its own with people community members replenishing it. And it's just kind of taken. You know, it'll be great if a community organization can take it over.
And staff members can still go and do it, just not on
Oh, sure.
part-time.
Just not on
Or on behalf of the library, so.
Right.
So what we need is a motion to de-accession the two Little Free Libraries, which the Services Committee is moving to do that so that we can transfer ownership to whoever is going to take them over.
And for now, I would say we're de-accessioning them. Maybe the motion would just be.
It says just the de-accession them, it doesn't say anything about transfer,
Yes.
so. Because at the time, we didn't even have like a yes.
So service committee is making the motion. Second.
Oh, Kim, how do you feel about that?
I feel good that an organization is gonna take it.
Okay.
Yes,
'Cause I know
but
you
thank
were a
you.
little worried.
I know, it's all right.
Cause this was your baby.
Right, no, I know.
Make sure that we do it right.
They're gonna be out there in the community and that's all that matters, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so wherever they are, it'll add a little spark to someone's
Yes.
little street or, you know,
Exactly.
somewhere. Yeah, the Kiwanis is, they do really good things, so.
So Nicole seconded because the committee
All
made
right.
the motion. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Chris.
All in favor? Cammy, thank you for
No, thank you.
Getting it,
You're
yeah.
welcome.
getting it off the ground.
Yeah, and I can get the one back from Katie. At some point, like,
Oh,
we'll,
he
you know,
still
we'll,
has the materials and all.
yeah, he still has it in his shed.
Okay. All right, we'll go to, with Lynn, if they're gonna take it.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Our big project this year is the staff manual, so since it's the beginning of the year and most of the committee members are new to the committee, we just went over a quick overview of what we expect from what we're planning to accomplish with the staff manual, and we're gonna actually start reviewing table of contents next month. Committee members should already be looking at it online. I'm saying this to myself to remind myself to do that when I get home.
Oh, gosh.
Throw myself under the bus, and so we're gonna be working on the staff manual. That's our big priority done this year, so. The last thing that we did was the Upper Hudson is offering 2 grants, the Equity Challenge and the SAIL grant. Both grants, the library is very interested in pursuing and probably is going to pursue them. The equity grant, the equity challenge is really neat, and it has a lot of components. One of them is a board and trustee component that if we adopt it, the board and trustees have to take part in this. The 2 grants are sponsored by Upper Hudson, so they're gonna offset costs for training and staff development, which is all stuff we were gonna do anyway. But we're not voting on that, we're just voting on whether or not we as board members want to do the board trustee component of the equity challenge.
Question.
Yes.
Does that count toward the hours that we need for training
Yes.
for the year?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I like that.
2 birds.
All right, we like birds. And so that's where we are. We looked it over and it's really things that are in our strategic plan to begin with, like recruiting diverse board members. That's the biggest one I remember. I really don't remember the other ones off the top of my head, but I thought that part in itself is recruiting is something we struggle with, recruiting diverse candidates even more so. So this would be a good thing for us to do. Plus, again, it's completely in line with the strategic plan we just adopted. So.
The tasks also, they outline, there's was
Steps,
8 tasks.
yeah, it's like
and we
8
have to do
tasks.
6 of them.
Yeah, I mean,
And we
and
have some
Part
of
of it
them.
was getting to know the community.
Yeah.
and what
understand the
languages are
community.
spoken, things like that. Things that we already know because we did the strategic plan. So we have like half of this done already. Why not let Upper Hudson pay us to do the rest? So that's my,
How much do they pay us?
$500.
it's not much,
Oh.
but.
So the entire grant, the equity challenge is kind of a scalable grant. So there are 8 different components, challenges, and for each challenge that we participate in, we get a $500 stipend afterwards. Thank you. It's a pretty neat grant. It's the first time they've done one like this.
And again, these are things that we were gonna do, or as an organization, why not get paid to do them? That's how, I love to do things that I was already gonna do and then get paid for them, so.
Business.
So, the committee is moving to complete, is that what you said? Sorry. Scroll back up to the top again. My actual.
Complete the board learning and recruitment module from UHLS.
Yes, and was there a deadline on this?
Yes, so it starts April 2024 and we have through December 2026.
So we have plenty of time to complete this, and technically, we've already completed a bunch of them. So, good news.
Is this documented somewhere?
Yes, in the admin channel, I think, or in the services channel.
Services.
Yep,
Okay.
it's in the services channel, but there's basically 6 different tasks. Provide the board up-to-date demographics on your service area, including languages spoken, how many languages are used and which are they. Review your board mission statement, bylaws, strategic plan for language, welcoming diversity, and how equity and inclusion are foundational to the purpose of the library. If no such language is found, revise accordingly. So it's, you know, trustee orientation, it's stuff that we have been planning to do. It's not complicated, it just holds us accountable.
So, the motion is ready, can I have a second? Charlie? Yeah. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor of joining this? Any opposed? Unanimous? Motion is approved.
And I think that's something we're gonna like tackle in services to like make sure that we're in the correct direction, but theoretically, like,
Keep the board updated, yeah.
Ready? Okay, so before I give you a report on capital, what's happening with I wanna give you, first ask, do you have any questions that you want me to go over from my director's written report? Need clarified? Okay. Next thing is, I just hot off the press, we just today, started evaluating the Winter Reading Club, our Winter Reading Challenge, thank you, Winter Reading Challenge. All the participation, we got the survey results, we analyzed them. The theme was stay cozy. The most completed activity was read a book while sipping a hot beverage. So it does show, I think, that participants embrace our theme of enjoying themselves at home. We did use this challenge as a way to highlight the resources that you can use from home, the library. That was one of our particular goals. We specifically mentioned consumer reports, Hoopla binge passes, magazines on Libby, graphic novels, which are both on Hoopla and Libby. Our adult winter reading registration numbers, I don't have the youth yet, had 133 registrants. In winter, this is our highest, that was in 2023, and Winter Reading Club in this year, 189. This is our highest ever winter reading challenge participation rate for adults, so that is really great. We also had information that patrons really liked that the theme was the same this year for adult and children, so that they could participate as a family instead of having separate challenges. So that's exciting, and stay tuned for we're getting ready to announce a year-round reading challenge. So our reading challenges are becoming, well, they literally are becoming year-round, but becoming a lot more than just reading, which is good. That's great. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the annual report, and then I'll go into facilities. So the annual report was sent to you. There is also around earlier. Thank you. There were some really minor edits that I had to make after it was sent to you when I reviewed them. And minor as in we were supposed to, the entire report is as of December, it's for 2023, but there was one section that wanted current trustees as of February 1st. So we updated everything that was put in there as of December 31st to 2024. And there was you can read this, but so you can make those changes if you happen to print it, but I wasn't printing report for you all. So the first one is 1.48.2. It's about SCODAC contract. Does the reporting library have a contractual agreement with the municipality or district?
It's funny, I wondered.
Yeah, that was just an error.
Yeah,
It was just an oversight, so.
I thought
That
that
has
was
been
the
corrected.
test question, whether we read it.
Well,
You did. You passed.
Okay, but good things about, great things about what we're doing here. Looking at 2023 compared to 2022, and then also looking back pre-pandemic numbers. We're really pretty much where we were pre-pandemic. The only number that is truly not where we were pre-pandemic is the number of visits in the building. So that's interesting. We are getting people to drive there, and we're doing a lot more off-site and all of the digital resources that people are using. If you look at our collections and our circulation, one of the numbers that I was particularly interested in was our physical circulation. But we know our digital circulation is going up, so I was curious about our physical circulation, and our adult books have gone up 2% from last year to this year. Now that number is significant, even though it's only 2%, because when we went Find Free, we went from 3 renewals to 2 automatic renewals. So we knew that we thought maybe perhaps our stats would drop because of that, because things weren't just automatically being renewed if there was no hold. So that is significant, and considering how much our digital circulation is going up, that's a meaningful number. If you look at pre-pandemic, our adult numbers are not quite as high as they were pre-pandemic. Our children's numbers have surpassed where we were pre-pandemic with physical circulation. So in 2018, just to kind of comparison, our total cataloged book circulation was 241,888. So that's before any COVID. Right now, we're at 239,376, which is, in 2017, we were at 238,077. So we really are kind of where we were, which to me, that's kind of an increase. We have this whole other branch now of digital services that we weren't really providing, not nearly as much pre-pandemic as we are now. If you look at our ebooks and audiobooks, our electronic usage, that has increased 91% since 2018, 13% over last year. And if you include our digital, our databases since 2018, so that's all of our ebooks, audiobooks, and database use, it has increased 195% since pre-pandemic. If we
Can I
look,
ask you a question?
Yeah.
What you're reading from, we do not have, correct?
you
Right, I was
have,
gonna say.
Oh, no.
No, we have.
Yeah.
no, you don't have all of that. You have in my
Yeah,
director's
there's one
report,
sheet.
there's a report that is from the previous year in January.
Okay, so this
January
is,
23 versus January 24, and then you have 22 annual versus 2023 annual. But what I did, and I just picked a few things out of it.
Yeah, but can we get a copy of that? What you're reading from, because I've asked that
Yes,
for quite a while now, compared to before COVID, because
Yep.
comparisons since COVID are
yes.
not as valid.
We are working on that with you. That is something that we actually have a meeting set up to go over the stats, and that's something that is
And
transitioning
then
out, so you
I
have.
look at this because I'm working on something else. Do we have that broken down by users? Specifically, East English versus Stoner?
Some of it, whatever we can get.
Oh, I
Hold it over, so
know.
it's not
I
all
know,
available, but yes. I was gonna write that.
I just.
So I was curious because our figures are good from year to year, but I was really curious now that we've had several years to really, like, we feel like we're pre-pandemic, are we truly pre-pandemic? And it looks like we are. The biggest thing, other than our website visits are up slightly, everything's kind of, programming is similar, it's up, but similar to where it was pre-pandemic. The biggest things that are changing are our digital collections, which is no surprise, but it was kind of a surprise by how much. And if you think about, this is something that we really need to consider when we're doing budgeting this year. And we did increase our budget this year significantly. Last year's budget, which is what the numbers are on, was for our ebooks and audiobooks was just shy of 22,700, and in 2018 it was 22,500. So we really need to up our ebooks, audiobooks contribution. We did that in 2024, so I'm curious to see what that will do with our circulation. It may, we're seeing all the libraries in the system are seeing this trend with digital resources just increasing at a rate that's higher than we can keep up with demand. So we have been seeing that no matter how much money we put into it, we still can't meet the demand. with the hold. So our goal is to, have a hold threshold that's lower. And we're doing that, but it's still not meeting the demand. We can't do that, we won't be able to do that. But our database budget in 2018 was 2,500 and last year was 10,700. So we are making some reallocations and we will continue to do that. So we'll keep that close as we look at budgeting. It's hard to believe since we just started our fiscal year in January, but my brain starts moving to budgeting March. So I'm already prepping for budget. So that is, I can put together a statistical report for you all, because I know you want that, and we have it, so now we can put it together and give it to you.
You can put it on Teams,
I can put it on Teams, yep.
Is that okay with you, Michael?
I actually got into Teams today.
So if I ping
On
you,
this
did you get an
computer.
email?
What?
Did you get an email saying,
I did get something that said
Okay.
somebody wants to communicate with you on Teams.
okay, so that
I
works.
got that.
So that works, I can, that'll work. I can do
That was my motivation for trying to get
Good.
I got it.
I mean, I had to go through 3 security checks to do it.
As did I.
Yeah.
If you look at page 4 of my director's report in that spreadsheet comparison. This is a Word document, not an auto, there's a typo in there. I must have transferred over the wrong place in the spreadsheet. So computer use for 2022 annual total is not 9,160, it's 6,184. So actually our 22 to 23 change is 48%, not 31%. But honestly, that is not meaningful because if you look at our pre-pandemic computer use, this is one of the numbers that went down.
That's computer use, and wireless sessions, I assume, is when I connect my computer to the system.
Computer uses when people come in to use the computers.
This is the public computers. So computer sessions by members of the public. Now this makes perfect sense. A lot of families and individuals, even our senior citizens, purchased, if they could, a computer during the pandemic. And the schools provide Chromebooks to the kids. So that used to be one of like the main things that the library provided was a computer. In 2018, we had 25,620 computer sessions. In 2023, we had 9,160. So it's nice that it's an increase from 2022, but it's really not meaningful
In
for
20,
us.
oh, so you're saying
It's just
91,
that more people are through the door,
Oh,
but it's really going down significantly.
the 9160 is 2023 and 2022 was a 6,000.
No, 2023 is 12,041.
Well, you just said 9160.
No, it's 12,041. 2022 is
That's worth good.
6,000.
That one was 6,
Yeah,
I heard that one was 6,
Yeah.
I didn't hear the other one,
Yeah.
except Joe.
Yeah.
That's okay, so, but basically it's cut in half.
It's kind of, but we are lending those hotspots and that's not an annual report. Those are going out and we just purchased more hotspots because that's important. Not everybody in our area has Wi-Fi at home. So those are really.
And those are
useful right
restricted
now.
to East Greenbush Schodack residents, right?
They are restricted to East Greenbush Schodack residents. So Mango went live, Mango databases are online language learning database live. It's in the first 14 days patrons logged 64 sessions and for 8 hours of language learning, which is pretty impressive in the first 2 weeks of something. So it's definitely, our strategic plan said we need to work on this, and so we did, and it's right away becoming a valued resource. And it's interesting because pre-pandemic, at one point, it was 2017, I believe, 2016, 2017, we had Mango and usage, nobody used it. So the demographics have shifted tremendously in our community, which is probably driving the usage of this database, which is great. Facilities. Since unfortunately, we did have our smelly. Our sewage smell issue, it was not sewage, our smell in the library that caused us to shut down. Or close the library, we closed at 4 o'clock, and then we reopened the next day at 2 o'clock. And I think we know what the issue is, which is what we thought the issue was most likely, which is really a dry trap. But there's nothing, we don't know for sure which trap. So.
And the testing for that is.
There is no real testing for that.
Yeah.
It's just, it happens. It's an unused drain.
But in order to find it, what it is, you can't.
The best thing you do is you go around and fill every drain with water.
Just,
Run
yeah.
Which is what
You know,
happens.
we have a
Just-
bathroom in our house where literally it's not used, and every so often the traps dry out. And it's just something that happens.
So we're gonna do preventative versus just.
Yeah, and it is on our monthly maintenance list, and that's something that
That was me.
this is not new that this has happened, and so we do,
You know, yeah, I
know about
remember
it,
once
we've-
before.
every month it's on Paul's list, and he goes around and he does that. And the week before, there was a slight smell, so we did it extra, so we're not sure, possibly one got missed.
That's
You know, I mean,
what- in all likelihood, that's what it was.
Who knows? We don't know, but
And then the reason it goes through the whole place is that if the trap is open, there's a vent pipe behind the trap so that the trap doesn't get sucked when the drain goes down, and open it and the water stays there. And so that vent is there, but the building is fairly tight and the exhaust fan's running, the building is probably under negative pressure compared to outside. So what happens is the air gets sucked into the building at the easiest spot, which then is the vent by wherever that trap is. You start getting the sewer gases into the building.
and they said that most likely, they don't know for sure if it was most likely in the multipurpose room area, because that's the closest to the main line for the intensity of the smell in comparison to other, but who knows?
There's a big house trap there. And that is the trap that all the water goes through, everything goes through, so. I would have a little different opinion on that.
I would say the important thing is that
It's done.
it's over, I think staff handled it well. Everybody kind of rallied together, everybody, basically dealt with this thing for a little while we tried to get rid of it, because usually you can do that and it resolves itself relatively quickly. It did not, it got worse. Mary came and smelled it herself. So we closed down
Well, the worst thing
and then
was
we reopened.
Then I got the call from the paper.
So I think we can talk about, yes, several of you received phone calls because it was apparently a slow news day. Everybody wanted information about why the library was closed.
Well, it was
And-
indefinite.
Yeah, I think that was what.
That was the thing that was shocking to me.
we said closed for a maintenance issue, and I think we, you know, it was a tricky one, because we didn't know why, and in retrospect, you know, we could have said closed for a smell, but
No,
that
it's a maintenance, the
temporarily.
headline that I saw, basically, I had, you know, it was closed indefinitely, and it stuck in my mind. Why would we say indefinite?
Oh, we didn't say that. We never said that. So we said closed due to maintenance. And we put it out on Robley, we put it out on social media, we put it out in all of our regular channels, we put it out. In the signage on the doors, you know, and as soon as the problem also is that the plumbers couldn't come right away, so we didn't have, you know,
That's all understandable.
you know, so we didn't have something concrete to give people, and as soon as we did, we put out a notice of what it was. And I think, you know, the important thing is, I'm glad that nobody responded to the press, because it is important that we have one message that goes through me or through the board president, and we're communicating, so everybody handled that really well, I thank you for doing that, and we did, you know, I did press once we had
Was it
some
in the
concrete information, and it
Was
was in
it
the
in the
paper.
Yes,
It was in the paper.
with the picture.
Oh, gosh.
Picture of what, a drain?
A picture of the closed sign.
So we got that, this week you mentioned, you know, we're being in the news over, so we should saw that coming.
Yes. I will never say that
Sure.
again, I will
Yeah.
never, but you know, if it has, it's not the end of the world.
What did you say?
She said, we were talking about the grant, about what things that you want to be in the paper for, and
Oh.
what you don't want to be in the paper for.
Yeah.
A week later.
We're in the paper. So there's a, yes.
But I agree with, like, I don't know if it's a lesson learned, but it's good to have the one voice.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
yeah,
also
that.
because none of us knew what was happening on site. The plumber's here, there's follow-up questions, we wouldn't have had the answer, so I'm glad you took.
Do we have policies that states that? Cause I know the school boards typically do, like, that they designate a person to be the spokesperson for the board.
It's part of your core training, but I don't believe we have a policy. It's just part of the core training that Upper Hudson gives you at the very beginning. You may not remember it, and we could put it part of our annual
Good.
training.
Yeah.
I can
January,
look for
just as a
some
reminder.
school.
I'll look, I can see if there's something.
Okay.
I would just say in general, if something comes your way, just, you know, shoot me a text or an email and I can respond right away, and usually right away, and we can figure out what the best way to handle it is. And typically with the press, you know, press calls, I'd like try to respond right away. In this situation, I thought, let's wait till we have something, you know, we don't wanna create a news story out of nothing, but it was still a news story. But anyways, I'm glad it wasn't anything worse than that, and I do wanna thank the staff, because, you know, people had headaches, and you know, it was, nobody likes to close down the library. We try to, you know, really remain open. We had doors open, you know,
And it was cold.
and it was cold,
Yeah.
and we'd open them and shut them, and it seemed to get a little better, and then it got worse. So I'll just say thank you to everyone. And a silver lining, we had the Friends meeting last week, and I did ask kind of, it was the next day, I think, the night we reopened, and I asked for feedback about, you know, how we communicated, and did anybody have any feedback about that? And what we did learn was that half of our friends are not on our regular email newsletter, which is, so we're gonna do some internal work for us to make sure that our patrons know how to
sign up for our e-newsletter. Because it is an opt-in thing. But I think, our friends know about the library, love the library, I'm sure would like to be on our e-newsletter to receive our weekly updates from the library. So we'll be working on that, to do some PR on that. So we're constantly looking for ways that we can. So if you do have any suggestions, feel free to email me on ways that you think could communicate better in situations, or, how did you get your information? Did you get the information? Did you feel like as board members you had information soon enough? Email. Very anything we can work on.
I just also, and I also wanted to mention that, for the AUD report.
Yeah, so the AUD report, which can be completed, yeah. I did request an extension, just in case, because the deadline for for granting it is March 1st. So we have the extensions through the end of April, so we have plenty of time, but we're gonna get it.
What do you still need to do? Look pretty complete to me. Other than
Oh,
these
that's
changes.
not this is the comptroller's report.
Oh,
So the New York State report to the library development, to the Board of Education, is what you have in your packet, and that is based on the cash basis. So it's not, those numbers are not gonna directly line up to our modified cash audit. The comptroller's report is on the modified cash basis, so we wait every year until we get those figures to make sure that we don't have to make any adjustments to do the comptroller's report, plus they ask for a copy of your audit. And you don't have to have an audit, but if you do, you want to put it in there. So that's the next thing on our list is the comptroller's report. So do you want to give an update on or do you want me to, on the capital projects? Okay, so we've been meeting, we have put together a small work group with Michael and Charlie and Jenna, myself, Jay, the architect, of course, and Dawn, business operations manager. And once construction work happens, Paul will likely join in on those meetings. Our maintenance. So we've been meeting weekly, other than last week, we had a cancellation. We have been meeting weekly to finalize the scope of the project so that the architect can put together the bid documents, which we really wanted by the end of this month. I haven't seen a draft of them yet, but we're working hard on that to try to get them done. We have finalized, we put together phases of the project that we think are important. Phase 1, which is the project that you've been hearing about. Phase 2, which will be the review, and phase 3 will be the bathrooms. And we have also decided that we would like to hire a construction manager for the project. And so Jay from Hyman Hayes Associates is working on, he's identified 4 different contractors that might be good fits for us to interview. And so we're just trying to schedule that. We were supposed to do it last Thursday. We weren't able to get everyone together. So we're hoping this Thursday, our meetings are every Thursday at 4:00, that we can do that sooner rather than later. We're pushing for that to happen. I think the meetings are here. The meetings are here. The meetings are here. And another piece that's come through is we have the construction grant that we put forth through the New York State Library construction money through Upper Hudson, and then it goes to library development, and then it gets sent over to,
Dormitory.
thank you. The dormitory. Brain freeze right here. It gets sent through DASNY, so it goes through this chain. And it had its first review at Upper Hudson. That's when Upper Hudson made the recommendation through the Upper Hudson board to award us the grant. Then it went through library development. They reviewed it. They have identified a couple of things that we're working on. One is SHPO. SHPO is this State Historic Preservation Act agency. Organizations, New York organization, SHPO,
It's
organization.
basically,
It's usually for buildings that are 50 years or older would have to go through SHPO. We've never had to go through SHPO for any of our projects, but there is a caveat in there that says if your work is greater than 10 feet outside of your building perimeter, then you have to go through SHPO because we possibly might find bones or, some sort of ancient burial grounds. So we have to go through SHPO. We have started that process. We're working with SHPO, and so that's part of it. So that is, hopefully that shouldn't bog us down too much, and it shouldn't, but it is a process. It's a process.
Yeah, it's just like the environmental report that you have to submit, and, it's one of the documents you gotta finish. SHPO is now another one.
Just to get approval, is that?
And you have to
approval from them?
get the okay from them. You either have to do something or to get the okay that you don't have to do something.
Right.
And what to do something is you'd end up hiring an archaeologist to come out and do some few test bits where you're gonna disturb the ground to see if they find it.
So we'll update you as we learn more with that. There's one other kind of hiccup that we have come across with the grant, and that on the actual quote from the original quote from the contractor, it broke out some of the pieces of the project that are really part of the capital project for the Aegis work in a way that it seems like they were possibly maintenance. And so it broke out power washing as a separate line item and landscaping as a separate line item. But power washing the building is part of preparing it for the new skin. You have to do it, you can't skip it. And the landscaping, you have to remove the landscaping to be able to do the EFS repair and then put it back in. So it's all part of the project. So they've just identified certain things that are sort of trigger words potentially for DASNY. So we've gone in, worked with the contractor to revise the quote so that our quote in there includes it all in the overall. And our proposal language is pretty much the same, but we have also put in language that, for anything that is not, is not an allowable expense, that we would use matching funds for that. Because the grant is a 50%, approximately 50% grant. So there are definite matching grant expenses.
Like the architect is in.
The architect is a matching grant, the construction manager is a matching grant. So we've been trying to make sure that those matching grants or that those funds are don't exceed 50%, because that's an important threshold for us, just in case. So we're kind of working on all these little things, trying to make
Really
it.
want to be under because in one of the last grants, the money wasn't all used up. So it was redistributed to the ones that were, and we ended up, although 50 is our sort of limit, they upped it to 65 or something like that.
So that's every library system is awarded grant funds from the New York State construction grant projects. And if another library can't use their grant funds, it gets redistributed, and so that it actually didn't come from Upper Hudson, it came from other libraries in New York State that were able to get through, you know, they probably didn't either, weren't able to come up with the matching funds, or they didn't get through DASNY, which is also a possibility. So we've been talking about kind of all of the moving parts. If we still think there's a good chance that we're gonna get this grant, but plan B, you have to have a just in case. Do we have enough money in the reserves to do that? And then what happens with the next project? So we do have enough money to do the first project,
Phase one.
phase one, but then we have these other projects that have to be done. The roof has to be
Round
done.
numbers, $700,000 is the first project.
Right. So you heard $1.5 million is our from the audit, that's our like bottom line, how much cash we have right now. $700,000 would be this project. Now, some of that money is accounted for in other ways. We want money in our operational contingency fund, which we all know.
Well,
We have to have that, so we don't wanna spend all of that.
And we need the money
There's
to-
things identified
to
for
go from December to the end of February when
we
we
get a
get
cash,
our
so there are other things that we're doing with that money, so it's not all available, and that would be available
Emergency.
in a true emergency, we don't want to spend it all. But we could get through the first project if we had to, but then we'd be in real serious trouble with the next projects. So
we
we've
said,
got that money.
go ahead.
Okay, so we asked Assembly Member McDonald for the $250,000, and he has said that, you know, he's gone through the legislature and gotten approval to give us the $250,000. And we had done that for the first project, we had identified that first phase. Well, when we got the grant from Library Development, we learned more that you can't have two projects that overlap. You can't have two state-funded projects for the same project. So we've been trying to put together the documents basically for the second phase to use McDonald's money for the second phase. He has agreed that we can revise our project and he would put it through again. So we're kind of holding still, you know, we keep wanting to push that forward so that we can.
Second one is the roof, which is $500,000.
Right, and we really want to capture those funds and not let them sit waiting from McDonald's. However, and it also can take a couple of years to actually get those funds in hand. So timing is important that we move on that project, but we're also kind of waiting. We're doing this little dance right now, trying to, with the chess pieces, make sure that we can use the funds where they're needed. So if we need to, if the grant were to fall through, we have the McDonald funds already sort of awarded for
And
this.
we were trying to redirect it to the first project.
We try to redirect it.
So rather than
and then
getting 360, we'd have to come up with an extra 100,000. But rather than the 350 or 360 that we've got, we would get 250 and we'd have to use reserves to finish the rest.
And also the timeline for when those funds might come is different than what would happen with the construction grant.
It's further out.
So that's another.
That's it. So it would slow everything else down if we don't. So it
Yes.
really is in our best interest to do everything we can to keep the construction.
Yes, so we're working very hard on that.
And also to keep it moving forward because the seasons change around here. As soon as it's winter, I can imagine the ecos.
Well, the EFS has temperature limitations on when you can do it.
Yeah.
So
Typically-
timing is an issue for all of this. The project is set. We really want the project work to begin this spring, so we will have more information to bring to you. But I'm not sure if we'll have a confirmation from Yasmin or not by the time we have to decide if we're gonna sign a contract or move forward, and then we'll have to figure that out. And we'll have to make a decision on how you wanna handle it, so I'll keep you posted and every week the information changes right now.
So in interest of, it's 8:35. I don't know if anybody has any questions, if you pretty much updated us all. So do you want to move forward, and then if there are questions, we can email them
Yes.
to you?
That'd be great.
We'll continue to discuss this at the admin committee.
Yeah, well, next week we'll have maybe a little more, admin is next
A
Monday.
little more information.
We'll have more, because I'm hoping we have a meeting on Thursday, so we should have something of an update.
Okay, so I'll leave it very generic agenda and move
Yes.
it away.
Just leave it as construction update.
Data supporting. Okay.
Thanks. I promise my director's report won't be this long.
No, there's a lot of stuff, statistics and the
We have a
the end of
a
year
lot of
stuff.
things on this agenda.
Alright, so, any objection to moving forward on our agenda? So next up is the personnel.
Okay, you have a personnel memorandum in front of you. Good news is our positions are almost 100%, thank you, almost 100% full, and actually they will be because I do have confirmation. At that bottom part-time librarian position, we have that, so, I don't have a start date or anything for the person, but we'll put it in next month's personnel memorandum. There is one correction here, Susan Fox, librarian, 1 part-time. The effective date is March 4th, not April 4th, 2024.
Anybody have questions on this? So we do need a motion to approve the personnel memorandum.
As
Is it as
amended.
amended?
As amended.
Yes. Michael is the mover of the motion. We have a second. Charlie second. Any further questions, discussions? If not, take a vote. Everyone in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, unanimous.
Very
Motion is
exciting,
approved.
full house.
I know, I agree.
All right. My very favorite part. Hear from our liaisons.
No, very favorite part is.
Oh, can't tell our liaisons that.
Sitting right there.
So Liz is here,
Friends?
not Julianne.
Well, we met last week, like you said, and right, we opened, thankfully that worked out great. We're gearing up for the spring book sale, which is April 12th to the 14th. And for those of you that are members or have been in the past and renewed for this year, we changed our membership tiers, and one of the benefits for certain tiers is that we're now offering a Friends preview sale the night before the book sale starts. So I'm just gonna see how that goes with the first time and see how popular that is or not. Also, we were pleased to satisfy 4 grants that Jill had presented to us. So I think it was somewhere around just over $14,000 for 4 different programming areas. And so we're happy to do that, and she's gonna have more at the next meeting. And we're still looking at different ways to raise funds. The raffle baskets continue to be popular, the in-library book sales, as well as our seasonal sales are still doing well for us, but trying to find different diversified ways to bring in money to help support you all. So yeah, that was pretty much it. We're gonna partner with Kiwanis to, and a bunch of other people, but to do the Easter egg hunt. So that's coming up too, but that's moving on.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Any questions for? Okay, well, welcome to June Q, our new town liaison. What's going on here?
Nothing really to report. Just started in January, so glad to join all of you. If you have any questions or any concerns or things to highlight to bring to the board, please reach out to me. But glad to be here with you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for June? Okay, great. Do you have Jim's email, right? Okay. You have your email, and you have ours.
I do.
Okay. Well, Rensselaer County, we don't have our liaison here tonight, so we'll be hearing from Rensselaer County unless did Tom send anything to you too? Okay. And how about Upper Hudson Library, Cammy, anything going on there?
I don't have a report.
Okay. Okay, so new business. I'm sure I don't skip anything in the agenda because I did this week. So I think we are. We're in new business section. So there are a couple things. There's a couple motions here, and I also have some things to add based upon a training session that Jill and I attended today, actually. So do you want to do the motions first? Let's do that. We all have the annual report 2023 that Jill gave us the corrections to. Anybody have any additional questions on that? Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the New York State Annual Report for 2023 as corrected? You and Amanda second. Okay, I guess we don't have further discussion, so let's take a vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's everyone. Motion passes unanimously. Next motion we have on board here is the audit. It is presented to us this evening. We've got all of our questions answered and then some. Any motion, or can I have somebody entertain a motion for the audit? Cammy, yes. Michael, 1 second. Great. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's everyone, no opposition, so yes. Okay. A couple new business items. New business. So the training that we went to today was for leadership director and the president attended from multiple libraries. So there's a couple things that they suggested, and Jill and I spoke about it. I think it's a great idea. So I'll share them with the board, and likely this will end up in the services committee, but I just want to give you guys a heads up. They suggest that we have ground rules, and that's probably familiar to everyone who's attended meetings before in their work life, but some ground rules for all of our meetings. And they can be used, they help to make meetings more effective. They manage time in meetings, and just, they're basic. So Jill and I made a few notes. We'll put them together, bring them to services committee Monday, so send it to you. And then we would present it to the board once the ground rules are. We did present it to the board for adoption. Also suggested, and personally, I'm a believer in this. Seeing we're at 8:45 already, but this was a big meeting, having a time frame for each agenda item. So I think it's helpful to the presenter as well as the people attending the meeting. They kind of know how long you're going to be there. You know how much time you have to talk about something. You can throw something into a parking lot if things, really get into major discussion mode. So it's another way to handle meetings. And we, outside of the effective meetings. Jill and I talked about, as a result of what they talked about at this, succession planning for our board and for any other groups that might partner with the library. And we all know that we're trustees, we need to recruit trustees. And one of the ways we thought we could do that, or one of the tools we might be able to use, is to create a list like we did when we were doing the strategic plan, and we made focus groups, and people would enter names of people that felt like useful and or be willing to participate, so you put the names on a list. And so if we had potential trustees or somebody that you know that might be interested in, you know, being part of the board, or the and the community advisory council too, because there's some thoughts as to, not thoughts, but and people have suggested others that might want to be part of the community advisory council. And that is, I hope you recall, part of the strategic plan. They'll meet quarterly, or I don't know if it's virtual or in person, but the group will meet, and it's very useful for the library again to see what's going on in the community. So Jill's gonna develop the document itself, put it in teams under just our general, okay? And then we can all add information, so hopefully people might have some ideas. And you're welcome to shoot them, you know, friends as well as town, if you please know anyone that might be interested in it. And certainly if they want to find out more about it, any one of the trustees can speak to them, I'm happy to, you know, be with it too as well. So those were the new ideas that we had. New business. I don't know, did you have any others to add to that? Oh, yeah, the best of the rest is going on with the Times Union. Okay, so if everyone, take a peek at that. Certainly our favorite librarians
Daily
in
until
there.
March 1st, we've been in second place 3 years in a row. Really like to be Colleen.
I drove by Colleen's library today, they have their board outside, like their little signboard outside saying, vote for us, we should be doing that too. We got one of those letter boards just like they have, says vote for us.
A little late, I don't know.
Well, you got 4 more days, it's till March 1st.
We have a little sign in our drive-through window.
But if we put the big board out where, you know, like say, you know, hold all donations, we could say, vote for us, that's the time you put out front.
Sock.
I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh, that's so
They, I mean, they're luckier because they're like on a main road and they can put it like right, because I drove right past it on Albany Shaker. But like, we could do that, not necessarily on Albany Shaker, but we've got that land over there over on, whatever that road is. Michael, but the other one, the one that, with by the light, I don't know the name of the road. Luther Road.
Oh, yeah.
Put it on Luther Road at the corner where we put up the farmer's market signs and say, vote for us. I know we only got 4 days left, but we've come in second every year for the past 3 years. Let's do something different and try to get that
See if
top
anybody
spot.
wants to-
There's 2 days left.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That'd be a push.
28th,
I'm just saying.
29th, I thought it ended on
Today's
March
not
1st.
over.
Vote for the library, vote for the town, vote for the school.
Right.
Strong
We
in East
won last
Greenbush.
year, we can do it, we can get the library. If the school can win last year, we can win this year. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Send out an email blast tomorrow morning, like, please vote for us.
You can vote every day.
That's true, you can.
I voted 4 times already.
Yeah, I think for the library.
For the East Greenbush, I know, not another library.
Oh, is that the one I was supposed to?
Not Colony.
When I worked at my old firm, we had an email push like daily, make sure you vote, and with the firm will remain nameless, but they did win, so.
If we had that nice digital sign that I want.
Oh, okay.
But see, that's why I'm saying, get the little sign out that says, please vote, put it out on the side of the road, just for the next couple days, it's gonna be nice out, people are gonna be out walking, put it up, get them out to vote.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, Josh. Anybody else have anything for new business? How about unfinished business? Of course I do. Unfinished business. Again, I talked about board succession planning as new business, but we also have a piece of unfinished. We have a blurb that's been created, Charlie, that is going to go into the newsletter, and we had to do it now. I know it sounds early. And it's for trustees. They'll have 2 vacancies at the end of this year, maybe sooner than the end of this year. And so we wanted to get something out there. The newsletters only go, is there 3 this year? Or, yeah, so there's only 3 newsletters, so that's why we have to put it in this one, because the one after will be after the election. And so we're putting it in there as a tool, see if we can get some people, or find anyone that might be interested in joining the board. So we can, once it's finalized, the blurb, certainly can share it with everybody, because the newsletter won't go out until whenever it goes out.
I remember a date.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up.
Okay, it's going out after tonight at some point.
It's not February.
It's not February. And it also requires like some finessing by Susan, right? Fit it in there, and so that's that. Anybody else have any unfinished business? Okay, now we move to our favorite motion of the evening. Does anyone want to make the motion to adjourn? Yeah. Nicole, would you want to second? Everybody opposed? All in favor? Okay. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your commitment and sticking with us.
Yeah.